Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to share this case study with you today. Um, and show you more about our holistic sleep coaching program. It's going to be sharing so many juicy moments from someone that I've known quite some time, who's been on our holistic sleep coaching program, who's managed to grow an amazing business supporting families. And I think you are going to get so much value from this. So if you are not familiar with me, I'm Emma Dewey. I'm the co-founder of the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program alongside Lindsay Hookway. And through our program, we help individuals who are passionate about helping families with sleep become sleep consultants. And we do this in a way that's holistic, responsive, and evidence-based, and goes way beyond sleep strategies. And we also support people to grow their business as well, so they can really make the impact that they set out to make. So just in a moment, I'm going to be bringing on the amazing Kim Hawley. And like I said, she is one of our incredible graduates from our program. And if you're tuning into YouTube right now, you'll probably see that we've done quite a few case studies and we've got a number of reviews there. So do take a look and you'll see the journey of our incredible graduates. Okay, so now, one thing that we hear a lot from people who reach out to us is that they really want to be able to go deep with their clients and they really want to be able to empower them. And that is what Kim has been able to do. And in fact, one of her clients said to her recently that working with Kim is like having a coach, a therapist, and a friend all rolled into one. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Okay, so I am going to bring Kim on right now, and then we can dive into her journey. So Kim, I'm going to bring you on. Hey, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. And I'm so excited to dive into your journey and to really show people the transformation that you have been on. So first of all, it would be great to know if or if you could share a little bit more about your journey into becoming a holistic sleep consultant. Kind of what drove you to seek us out?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts, right? There's what drove me into sleep work, and then there's what brought me to holistic sleep coaching. Do you want me to just kind of go through it from start to
Yes.
finish? Okay. So so my own journey as a parent is what brought me to sleep work, right? Um,
Yes.
I didn't prepare for sleep at all as a new parent, as many new parents. I was just like, babies wake, they feed, they go back to sleep. What's the big deal? So besides sleep, I didn't really prepare. And so, I have this new baby, he's pretty wakeful. And that was it wasn't even the wakefulness that was the problem. It was that I literally had no idea what was a normal amount of waking
Yeah.
or like what sleep was supposed to look like at a certain phase. So we hit 4 months and everything went off the rails. And I remember just looking at a friend and being like, what is going on? Like, this can't be normal, or is it normal? Right.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to actually know what was normal. And I also wanted to know what parents could do that wasn't sleep training, because that's all I was hearing is that sleep training is what you do. And I have a background in cultural anthropology, and I knew that's not what most of the world did. So I had that perspective, but I didn't know what I could do. Um, so I went into research mode. Thanks to a lovely lactation consultant introducing me to like Jim McKenna's work. And I want to say maybe Helen Ball's work also, but it started me on the research journey of there is actually good information out there.
Yeah.
And eventually I found a different sleep certification that was, small, kind of like a start. It was biologically normal. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. And I fell in love with sleep, but I knew that I didn't have a deep enough understanding to really do what I wanted to do. And so then I was on a quest to find a very comprehensive, very deep, very evidence-based sleep like consultant training that also matched my values. And that was hard. Until I, of course, I think stumbled on a Facebook ad of yours or Lynn's, and was like, oh my gosh, are they for real? And I mean, you were, but how I really came connected. I remember grilling Lindsay over email to make sure it wasn't going to be sleep training in disguise. So that's kind of how I found you guys and was like, this is what I need, is this deeper and very evidence-based information.
I love that. So you found us through a Facebook ad. Maybe you joined a revolution.
Yeah, I think it was that.
Okay, amazing. And, we hear this a lot. A lot of people come to us and they're just, they're really wanting to know that we are gentle, we are responsive, because people get burnt a lot. They think they're signing up to something, which is that, and it turns out to be something different. So you joined our wonderful world quite some time ago now. And so it would be great to know, what are the kind of key things that you've got out the program that have helped you really support families, and how that's worked, because you were a lactation consultant, or you still are. So yeah, how did that work? Have you just focused on sleep, or have you focused on the lactation consulting side as well?
So my business is just focused around sleep, but I work with a ton of nursing families, because a lot of folks are finding me and coming to me because I can talk about sleep and lactation, right? So I'm not necessarily their lactation consultant, but I can bring that knowledge and that protection and support of the nursing relationship into my work. And especially with nursing toddlers, right? Like a lot of people who are nursing a toddler and don't necessarily want to be pushed into night weaning really feel at home when they find me, because they feel like they're in safe space, right? Where their nursing relationship is going to be supported and respected, and they're going to make the choices that make sense for them. Yeah. So for me, like, I feel like, thinking about how the initial round through the program, right? Not how my work is evolved since then, but the original going through the certification program. Some of the things that really transformed the way that I worked with parents are regulation. I still think of this today, that like Lindsay changed the way that I view like nervous system regulation and sensory needs and their relationship to sleep. And how important it is to talk about parent regulation and child regulation and help parents look at their kiddo with that in mind. And for me, that was like this huge, powerful tool that we could bring, that we're not just looking at sleep because sleep, and we're not just looking at sleep times or, like routines or anything like that. We're actually looking at like, where are they nervous system wise state? What is that? How is that showing up? And where do we need to be for sleep? And where do we need to be at other times? And for me, that was like a really big aha moment that I really worked into the way that I work with families. And I think it's been really valuable. Another thing is feeling like I have a big toolbox of tools, right? And so like tools from how do we optimize the day, or how do we optimize an evening? How do we set up good sleep hygiene? But also tools for, okay, a family wants to change something big. How do we do that in a respectful way that matches that kiddo's temperament? And just, feeling like you have a toolbox and you can talk about different ideas and really empower a parent to collaboratively, create that plan, right? And figure out what feels right to them. I think is so important and so valuable. Yeah. But also, like, I loved, not saying something I learned, but I loved having that space where we had access to you, we had access to Lindsay, and we had access to each other to really integrate the knowledge and like talk about it and think through it, and not just like, go through the lessons, do the quizzes, and then be expected to know how to take that information into practice. Like, I think that the integration and the ability to discuss, for me, since that's how I tend to process things, was invaluable.
Yeah. And, many years ago, we used to run the program just live twice a year. And, to your point there, we changed it because we realized that, one, there's just a lot of information to digest. And naturally, what happens is that as you evolve as a practitioner and as your business evolves, you want to keep coming back to people. And so that's why we changed the structure, and we've had it like this for quite some time now, but where, you've got that lifetime access to the curriculum. You've got the weekly coaching with Lindsay, if you need to dive in and speak to her, the marketing calls, and your peers. And that's really important, right? Feeling like you've got a good set of people around you that have got your back and where you've got similar values. And I know you've got great friends from the program.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, some of my business besties came from holistic coaching. And so it's lovely to have those two levels, right? Like the whole grad community.
Yeah.
When you just want a broad, like, hey, how would you handle this situation? Or what am I maybe missing?
Yeah.
And then you have access to Lindsay. Like, I don't need that level of mentorship at this point often, but I hopped on last fall to a call to ask Lindsay about a case that I was just like stuck, like totally stuck. I mean, it was so lovely to be able to do that and just have, 15 minutes. She talked it out. She gave me some things to think about, and also like ways to bring up what I was trying to bring up with that parent.
Yeah.
And it was super helpful. And like, that was amazing. But then also we kind of get those friendships where you get your closer, like, your business besties, your people that you message when you're like, something business or something client or just whatever. And that's really lovely as well.
Yay, I'm glad. And I love what you were saying about, the second point about key part of the program being that you've got this big toolbox. And so when you're working with families, you're able to adapt and bring in the right tools. And it's interesting when I'm kind of speaking to sleep consultants who are perhaps looking for a program, and I think in the mainstream space, it's like following one acronym, right? Or just having like a few tools. And what I see so often is that people get to a point where they get stuck in that journey, because that's only going to take you so far. So it's great that you feel that you've been able to have a wider variety to help your families. So tell me a little bit about your business, because I know what was really important for you is to create a business where you can work around your family. So how have you been able to do that?
Yeah, it's really evolved over the years from when my kids were little and I did a lot of evening and weekend work. So we didn't have to have as much childcare. So now that my kids are in school, like really shifting almost everything to school hours for seeing clients,
Yeah.
which I love that, like I could set that schedule and that by the time I wanted to put all my client work during the day, I felt confident that I could, even though other people were like, you can't run a parent facing business like that. And I'm like, well, let's see. Right. Like,
That's my fun.
you know, and I do. And so I work virtually with families. I support them one-to-one, and I support them through my group coaching program. And I do a little bit of teaching in collaboration with a local lactation group. So that's really fun. And I do like really deep, long packages with the vast majority of my clients. Like I'm working with them over months and, really giving them a lot of support and a lot of education and a lot of troubleshooting support, which is great because I feel like you get to know them and you get to, you're their sleep consultant, but you're also kind of helping them think how to troubleshoot for their own. So it's like, it's not deep support where I want them totally relying on me, but support to help them think through what's this going to look like after we're working together if something comes up.
Yeah.
And just helping them implement. It's hard to implement new things with your kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how has it evolved? Because I know you're obviously doing a lot of one-to-one work at the beginning, and I know I've worked with you to kind of to look at the group coaching side of things. But did you do the one-to-one work for quite some time and then get to a point where you're like, I know my ideal client inside out. Now I want to do is kind of scale it through coaching. That model I always say is like intimacy at scale. So, how long were you doing the one-to-one piece, and have you kind of paused that for now and you're just focusing on coaching, or do you do both?
Well, it's a great question. So it depends on when you consider starting one-to-one work. Because when I first started my business, it was definitely more of a hobby. And then my youngest was born and I was like, okay, I need a 5-year plan to make like a real salary. because I was staying home with my son for a while. And so that was actually the year before I did holistic sleep coaching. And that was part of my like for real plan to be able to make a proper business. And so I was doing one-to-one work for years. Um, and what was it now? 2022? When
Mhm.
I was just getting really busy and really like, I don't want to add more clients, but I want to add more income. And I want, I want to build more community because so many of my clients are the only one who's not sleep training in their inner circle, or maybe they know one other person, but they're not surrounded by folks who aren't sleep training and who have, sensitive or more challenging sleepers. And so they felt alone a lot. And like they're the only one struggling and the only one not sleep training and, all that kind of stuff that can cause a parent to really spiral. And so group coaching via you inspiring me, honestly, to kind of take that leap and explore what that could look like. And I do both now. I am a strong believer in there's no one right way to support a parent, and it's just, there's strengths to both. And I like doing both. I mean, I think my group coaching program might be my favorite way now because I support parents longer term, even, and that I think is really lovely. Um, but you know, I think parents, are gonna seek the support that best meets their needs. And so I actually like doing both, but I do less one-to-one now than I used to, which is really nice as well.
Amazing. And I think that's really important for people to hear here because, or listening to this, because I think the biggest question for people when they think about becoming a sleep consultant is like, can I make this work? Like, can I scale this? What are the different ways that we can support families? And there are many different ways,
Yeah.
group coaching and one-to-one being two of them, but there are other ways as well. And it's
Mhm.
finding the way that kind of suits you and your lifestyle and also the type of clients that you are supporting.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm very happy for you that you've found methods that work for you and your clients. Okay, so reflecting on your journey, what has been the most significant mindset shift that has contributed to your success so far? And thinking about growing a business,
Mm.
and supporting families.
I think I think it's really about playing to my strengths and that it doesn't have to look like anyone else's business. Um, and I feel like that, like the way my packages are crafted, for example, like the most common way that I work with folks one-to-one is 2-month package and it has a good amount of support. It is a higher, maybe not higher ticket offer in the grand scheme of like wellness coaching, but in the sleep support world. Um, and I remember when I was grappling with that because I was like, I don't want to work with a bunch of clients really briefly. Like that's the temperament wise for me, that is overwhelming. That's not a very good business model for me. I wanted more of the boutique business model.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down with Lindsay and being like, how can I do this? Like I was starting to do it, needed a little bit more structure. And we had a whole big conversation around how to kind of chunk it out and have a bit more of a system to it. And like it's evolved since there, but that was so helpful to me and just being like, I can do this in a different way than other sleep consultants are doing it. And that's okay because both are valuable.
Yeah.
Um, and that was just a big shift for me that I could kind of take it and work the way that played to my strengths, even if that wasn't the most common way of doing it.
Yeah. So staying in your own lane and
Mhm.
essentially knowing, I think one thing that I've really thought about you over the years is that you've always been so clear about who your ideal client is. And so it sounds like you said, okay, this is my ideal client. This is the person that I attract. And hey, they need more than this short package. They need
Mhm.
packages. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think it also plays to my strengths, right? Like the idea of me sitting down and coming up with this completely comprehensive plan that gives them all the different variations, but is still customized to them all at once makes my head want to explode. Like that's not how I work. That's how I worked in the beginning, but that's just not how I work now. And so we chunk it down and we approach things differently. And I think that just plays to my strengths as a sleep coach. And I think it also plays to like my ideal client not getting overwhelmed, and feeling like they're taking it one step at a time and really being supported.
Okay, amazing. And reflecting on your journey so far, or thinking actually about, let me phrase this a different way, thinking about life before Holistic Sleep Coaching Program and life after, what's the difference?
I think holistic sleep coaching, the certification, the program, the ongoing support is what I needed to be confident in my business, right? Like I am not somebody who was meant to be an entrepreneur. Was never ever part of my plan. um, but I think that just the support, like the support from a sleep perspective, the support from the business perspective, like the community support, knowing we were such, it's it's all such evidence-based information. It really was just what I needed to be like, look, I can present myself and feel confident that I am a sleep specialist. Like I am an expert in these topics and I am an expert on what's developmentally normal. And I can integrate lactation and responsive, peaceful parenting and like attachment and, all these different pieces into my work and just feel really, really confident about it.
Yay. And create the business you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. And lastly, what advice would you give to someone listening right now who's thinking about joining the program?
Oh my goodness, do it. Like, I get this question, honestly, Emma, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I get this question like periodically, right, from professionals that will reach out to me and ask me about my experience and like different certifications and things like that. And what I always say is like, holistic sleep coaching takes care of their grads. Like you take care of us and we have a space to grow and still have support. And that like there's like external validity on the certification, which is not common in the sleep world. And so you can feel really confident, like asking an employer to pay for it if you are in that kind of setting, or just knowing that like there's validity to the fact that this is good quality. And I feel like those two things are really strong and not necessarily very common when we're thinking about the sleep world. Um, so yeah, I think it's a really good step. If you want to support families around sleep, especially in such a sleep training world, you really need to feel confident in what you're doing. And it's a great certification for that.
I love that. Thank you so much. That means a lot to us. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. It's been a pleasure to see you evolve and see your business evolve. And we will share your details as well in YouTube. So if anyone wants to connect with you, that they can do that. And thank you so much and see you soon.
Thanks for having me.